Hello everyone, welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to maximize your load in a front load washer to be able to make use of the maximum amount of room in these washers. I know a lot of people, when they fill these, they may be afraid to fill them full, but these machines actually work best when they're full, and they're designed to be filled almost all the way up to the top of the drum here. I'm going to show you how best to do that. It can be a little bit time consuming to do it, but in the end it'll give you a really full load to be able to maximize the use of the space in any given front load washer. The best way to do that is when you put clothing in, and you don't want to pack it either. If you have stuff with zippers, zipper it up. Just kind of lay it in there. These are pants. Just kind of fold them up loosely. I'm not sure if I have enough here for a full load, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes here. If you have clothing with zippers, it's best to close the zipper. If you're doing things like bras in one of these, make sure they're hooked to one another, so that way the hooks don't get snagged in the holes. Because I have the capability, I'll usually do things like bras in my little sidekick washer. Since I have that capability, you can take some light sideways to fill in that little gap at the front. You don't want to pack it down. Sometimes I won't push hard on it. Sometimes I'll just pat it down. If I have like any socks, sometimes I'll throw them in like any little holes just to fill in the gaps. You can do this with anything basically. I wouldn't do it this way with pillows or things that absorb a lot of water, because then they can expand and then the things won't be able to roll and wash properly. I don't usually sort my laundry that much anyway. You see, I just keep folding it like that and just placing it in there. When I load, I'm just basically looking for, like with small things, I just usually look for like small spaces. Just keep doing this all the way right up to the very top. Fill it right all the way up to the very top there. I'm about to run out of stuff. It's actually one full hamper. That hamper. When you do these, when you load these washers, don't be afraid to load them down. The motors in these machines are more than strong enough to handle the load. You wouldn't fill a top load half full. There's no reason to fill these half full. Even in laundromats, when you use their front loads, don't skimp on the load, just load it up. As you can see, I'm getting pretty full here. There's actually still some room in there. Here we are. This is all I have for this run. As you can see, there's still room in there. See, there's actually still space in there. You could actually fill in that whole space with stuff. If I had a little bit more, I could actually fill this all right in here. You can see how much space there is in there. The thing is, as long as basically with these machines, you can fill them almost all the way right to the very bottom, top of the drum there. Basically, as long as there's enough room, as long as there's just enough room in these machines for the clothes to be able to roll when it tumbles the stuff to wash it, it's going to wash all that clothing. There's really not a lot to worry about with these. They're designed to be run full. Oh, sorry, ran into the camera with my chair. All I have left is some towels, but I don't have enough room in there for all those. A couple small towels that can actually fit in there. For me to know when I'm getting full, I usually just reach in there, and if I can feel a little bit of a gap in there, I know there's still there's going to be enough room for it to roll. As you can see, it is really, really full. And there's actually still room in there for some more small things. As you can see by this little gap right here. I'm going to pause this a moment while I prepare it to run. I'm going to record running just a little bit here. This isn't going to be a full run like my other videos are. This is just to show you how to maximize your loads in these washers. I have to add my soap and everything, which I'm doing now. I'm doing right now is I have my soap and fabric softener, getting this machine ready to run. For loads like these, I usually do use the heavy duty setting. I'm gonna close the door. I'm ready to go. I'm gonna power on. And even if I use the normal setting, I'll use the heavy setting. And I heat warm water. There we go. Right now it's just doing its initial roll. My washer adjusts its own water levels and to be able to maximize the wash. One thing to remember too is when clothes get wet, a lot of times I'll actually pack down a little bit more in these washers. When you see it this full, it'll actually go down by about a quarter of what's in there. If you sit and watch it a little bit, you might notice that it doesn't start, it might not roll right away. But as it gets stuff wet and it starts packing itself down a little bit more, it'll roll through just fine. Like I say, if you use your normal setting, if you load it this full, the best thing is to do to put it on the heavy setting, the heavy soil setting. Because that usually gives it enough time to be able to get everything to go through the water. I didn't use it this time, but a lot of times if I do it this full, I'll sometimes add the pre-wash option in just to help the washer be able to get the stuff wet and make sure it's wet by the time it finishes the main wash. All gets wet by the time it finishes the main wash. As you can see, this washer rolls just fine when it's wet with it being this full. This is the main wash cycle on the heavy duty setting. My washer just keeps adding water as it needs it. Right now, its main thing right now it's doing is just trying to get everything into the water. And it will get it. This method of loading your front load washer works with basically any front load washer you would use. Even in a laundromat. If you use front load washers in a laundromat, you can fill them right to the top. As long as you leave just enough space in the top for stuff to be able to move around, so that way as it tumbles, it's able to mix the stuff around, move it around in there. To be able to get the stuff like in the middle, to be able to eventually get down to the bottom and outsides of the drum, so that way it goes through the water too. As long as you have just a little bit of space at the top, and you don't need much, that'll wash everything you put in there with no problems at all. As you can see, that washcloth that was up front has basically disappeared. That's because the space inside is actually opening up a little bit more as the washer gets everything wet. And if you notice, as it gets everything more and more wet, and as it continues, that stuff how you noticed in the beginning that it wasn't really rolling stuff around that much. Now notice how stuff is rolling just a little bit more now. Now it's actually tumbling things around, and things are actually being able to move around in there, if you notice. Add a little bit more water now. And I could have actually added like 3 or 4 more shirts, a couple pairs of pants, and a couple more in there, and still had enough room for it to work. I don't know if you noticed at the top of the drum there how the stuff is actually starting to drop down now when it stops the roll. The sensors of these new washers is able to sense how the load's moving and whatnot, and it's able to adjust the way it rolls and tumbles and everything. If you notice, it's actually mixing the stuff around in there. You notice how as it goes, it starts rolling, stuff starts moving more and more free in there. Remember how full I had it. And no, it's not recommended to add more after it goes down like that. I want to pause it a moment here, see if I can open it without stuff tumbling out on me. I don't know if you notice in there how much space is actually opened up inside there at the top there. It was all the way almost up to the top of that drum when it started. If you notice how it packed itself down, that's how it's starting to move itself around. As things get wet, it's going to go down a little bit more than that once it's all fully wet. But that's the best, that's how you can maximize your load in these washers. I'm going to stop. As you can see, it has no problems at all with that. It'll wash everything just fine. I hope you found this video informative and interesting. Thank you for watching, and God bless. Good night.